Okay, we're going to go over how to configure NinjaTrader 8. And let's see. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I mean to do this. All right. I'll cover what you see here after I go over the indicators that are loaded. We start with the data series. The data series, the standard that I use for NQ and for the Dow is 6 under the tick trend, 10 on the tick reversal. I assume that you guys can hear me, right? And then 2 for the tick open offset. So 6, 10, 2. I went ahead and used 7, thanks Arnaldo. I did a 7 bar width just because it makes it look pretty decent there. I loaded 5 days of data, even though it said 3 in the system. I found that 5 works with a couple of the indicators better than 3. Now, true on auto scale, true on display and data box, that really doesn't matter. It probably shouldn't be. Leave the end date there, use instrument settings. Now, it has a label of NQ. I could take that label off. And as you can see, I'll go ahead and apply. And it takes the NQ out of that list across the top, which gets in the way sometimes. It defaults to panel 1. Plot session break line and price markers are both 2, so that it shows on the right hand side. You have to give it a color for buys and sells. And I put down do not plot, but you could select either markers only or text and markers. We won't see anything because we haven't had any trades here. I've got it in sim mode, I believe. Let me double check. I don't want to do anything silly. Tools. Oops, gotta close that. Tools. File. Global sim mode. Okay. So I'm global sim mode that I can't make any mistakes here. And so basically, you can mark that up under data series. Do we have any questions on that? Text and marker, in my mind, for you, gets in the way. For me, because of full disclosure in NinjaTrader 8, I probably put it on. And it's somewhat hard to read, but not impossible. All right, now let's go to the indicators, what we're really here for. Okay, the indicators are like so. Come on. It's supposed to, it actually moves in, I could resize this window. Oh, don't need to resize it because it's got everything. Net picks counterpunch signal line. Out of the box, default signal line length 9. This is approximately a 9 volume weighted moving average. I've been told that it's not exactly a volume weighted moving average. And if I compare it to, if I plot a volume weighted moving average against that, it is ever so slightly off. But it's not off enough to matter. Basically, if you wanted a clone of this, to put the 9 VWMA. Calculate on bar close. You could do true or false. And the default is to calculate that on true. And if you calculate it on true, oh, wait a minute, let me do one thing. Gotta close this up real quick. I actually need to connect to NT Continuum so we can get updated data. Connecting. It's a lot slower in NinjaTrader 7 than 8. 8 is fast. There's quite a bit of improvements in the engine in NinjaTrader 8. Okay, let's go back here. Indicators. And as you can see here, the calculate on bar false means that every bar as it's going, I calculate it, and you can see the changes. If you put it to true, it will wait for the bar to close, and that's the ideal situation. But I want to see what's happening live, so I put mine to false, but technically, according to the author, that's not the way he wants it. Maximum bar look back 256. I mean, you could go data or infinite. Auto scale. I usually turn the auto scale to off for most settings because it's going to be in the middle where price is. Only when I'm trying to force things to come in there will I do the auto scale. I don't have any displacement left or right, meaning in time. I don't want this displayed in the data box. It just confuses things. There's already enough things that are going on in the data box. So I basically have pretty much everything in the data box off except for targets and stops. And that's it. So almost none of the indicators will be there. The label, let's get rid of that. And that goes off that line once I hit apply. And panel, same as input. Price markers false, so I don't get, I don't want a price marker where the signal line is. I can see where the signal line is. I don't need a marker on the side. Justification. And then you choose your own color. Color out of the box, according to the author, was not blue, I don't believe. I made it a blue dash and a 3 width, so it shows up a lot bigger than it would otherwise. I wanted to jump out at me. That and the 20. Okay. The chop. The chop is the filter down here at the bottom. I call it the momentum indicator. I basically have left pretty much everything the same. I put the fast and the slow are the same. All these numbers are straight out of the box. 25, 270, 25, 1, 5, and 20. I think blue and red may not be, I think those are the standard colors. What's not the standard colors are the lines. And when I was doing it in a different color, it was somewhat more difficult to see. So in NinjaTrader 8, I think I've got yellow for one of them. These colors can be anything that you want them to be. All right, let's look at auto scale. Doesn't matter because it's in its own panel. It defaults to true. 0 in displacement. Display in data box, false. Label, I don't want anything there. And it redraws that. Want it in panel number 2. Price markers false on the side. I could actually make that true, and it gives me an idea of where I am on the scale. You can see right in here. Those actually are not that big a deal either way, whether you have it or not. Scale justification is fine. And then your chop, open these up. Colors and widths, greens on the way down. Call it the chop. The trend color being up, or let's see, green. Okay. Chop is the green dot. Solid dot, that's a line, and the green dot. So the green and red dots are the first two, chop and trend. So it says in red you're in the middle of chop. Trend is the blue line in here. Signal, it's the lime colored, it's line, it's the green line really along the top of those bars. I normally, stock fan, I only trade crude oil on Wednesday at the on the announcement, and I do a quick scalp and then I'm done for the week. Only when there's no other trades to be had will I trade it outside of Wednesday. I'm sorry if that's what you came here for, thinking it was on Wednesday afternoon, but it's only on Wednesday around the report. We get a lot of movement. It's a quick, scalp in and out. Looking for 100 to 150 bucks usually. Okay, so these are pretty much standard. You could color it the way you want. Ticks left, remaining. If you are in tick mode instead of Renko mode, let's do apply. Okay. Let's go to data series and type. Let's go to ticks. Let's use 377. Apply, okay. And now you see the ticks remaining on the right hand side. And what it does is it shows I've got a 377 tick chart and it still has 255 more ticks to go before it completes that bar. And it shows it in percentage terms. What you have to do to get that to show up is you have to get in properties and you have to give it some room off to the right, and my right side margin is 130. Now, the way I have the colors done while we're here is I basically have the axis of dark black. Don't worry about the dates, formats. You could put it any way you want. Equidistant bar spacing. You can put the grid lines the way you want them, just whether we want them to show up and how much they show. And this is the window. You talk about the window for color. And there is a place for it's a horizontal grids, vertical grids, a window. There's a place for me to play with the color below. Maybe that's only in NinjaTrader 8. Okay. But you could color these spacer lines between each of the panels. You could resize the panels by grabbing them. Over here. I need to take this real quick. Hello, Steve Massey. I'm all right, I guess. How can I help? Okay. Yes, I've got my eyes on two of the dogs. We find the third one. Oh, they're all three inside, and I've got them locked in. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Oh, thank you very much. Bye. Unfortunately, I had to take that one. That was an important call. I do apologize. Okay. Where are we sitting at? All right, let's go back to the indicators. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. Ticks left. Calculator. You can put these in any order you want, but basically I leave everything straight out of the box. And you can do a startup time. When I'm starting the day, I don't want it to calculate pre-market and then, hold on one second. Hey, get in here. Get inside. Get inside. Come on. Come sit down and shut up. You're bothering. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Now, everybody sit and be quiet. Where are you barking at? There's nobody there yet. Buddy. My apologies. These guys are just so unruly. Okay. Start time. You can set it to 0 and then it constantly throughout the 24 hours of trading will calculate the entries, exits, or whatever. The problem is if you leave that to 0 is that if it gets a trade signal at 5 minutes before the market opens, and then we get some sort of movement after the market opens, and that's when you want to trade it after market opens, it may not give that new signal because it has to complete either full targets and stop out, or trailing stop out, or stop out. And then it will start looking for the next one. So I force it by putting 9 to 9. So basically the 1 minute, I don't put 9:30, I put 9:29, and it pretty much won't get anything to the left of where the market trades. If you're looking to trade oil, you need to probably make that 1 minute before they're open, which is at 8:59, and these are all in Eastern time, according to mine. I leave trend mode off. All of these, I believe, are standard, straight out of the box. Okay. I don't think there's anything. Maybe the colors here might be ever so slightly different, but I don't think so. Chop length, everything's the same. And I'll go over some of the other stuff for non-net picks people as well. Calculate on bar close for the calculator. You can leave it in as true, or you can make it as false. Now the problem was if you made it false and it tried to calculate right away, the NinjaTrader 7 won't calculate it, and you'll get one set of calculations when you hit the apply button and close it, but you won't get any updates along the way. So you need to leave that on true. Let's get rid of the calculator. Okay, so that's label. Do you want to display in the data box? I really don't. Auto scale. I don't need that calculator to be auto scaled necessarily, because sometimes those 3 dots could be way, way, way off the chart. If I want to be able to see them, I can just grab the slider on the right hand side and move it up and down to expose it. So I usually leave it to false. Price marker, it shows is true, and so you're going to get where that calculator line is, and I don't probably need that. That's not true. I wanted to leave that to true, because what it will do is it will have the trailing stop and the signal lines all calculated for you and shown on the right hand side. Why would these not be? Not sure why the targets are not showing. Scale justification to the right. And these are all, I think, pretty much standard as far as the color codes. All right. I added a free indicator called Quick Drawing from ninja.co. And I left everything standard. I'm going to take the label off. Price markers true. Doesn't matter because it's basically the drawing tool up here at the top. And I basically have an augmented one button to get to, instead of having to go up here to the pencil, to the drawing tools, pull them down that way. So I can just get them with one click. So that's why I do that. Okay. The moving average, NetPicks moving average. This is the one that changes color from green to red based upon whether you're going down or going up. I left that the same. Calculate on bar close. Now that one is set to false. And maximum look back. Auto scale also to false. Displacement 0. Display in database false. Label. Get rid of that. Hit the apply button. Eventually I'll get rid of all this stuff across the top. Price markers false. I don't need to know where that moving average is. I will be able to see it. I don't want any more confusion on the right hand side. And you can determine the color code for the up and down. And you can, the most important is dash or dots. They used to use dots at the, I believe, standard coming out of the box. It didn't show up well enough for me, so I made it -3. So dash style 3, width of 3. All right. Now that it says plot the NCPC moving average, this one actually could be transparent, I believe. All right. So basically it hides itself. I made it the same color as the background, but you don't need to do that. You can just hide it, make it transparent. Either one works exactly the same. Let's go over the opening range. The opening range, this one is a little bit difficult by the way they did it in NinjaTrader 7. The way they did in NinjaTrader 8 is much, much easier. You want to extend your opening range plots until the close of the day. I said true. I want it to go all the way because if it comes back down or up to those ranges, I want to see it. Pre-session, it can be full or not, doesn't matter. Select which session of regular trading hours. It's the first. Offset. Now, what is it offset from? Well, we're doing it at 9:30, and it's not really, doesn't look to be at GMT. Well, I'm trying to figure it out, and it's 9 o'clock. If I subtract 9 from that, I've got 5, 6, 7, 8. It must be some function of Eastern time or GMT or what. I have no earthly idea. I don't really care anymore. I just played around with it. 15:30 opens at 9, and then 5 minutes later is when the other side of it is. But I think it's based off of Greenwich Mean Time and no adjustment for daylight savings time. Okay, really don't care about Asia and Europe. Not plotting them. Really not. Calculate on bar close. No. I wanted to calculate as we go along. And inputs, because when it goes up or down, I wanted to see it. Input series, maximum bars back. You can maybe probably change that to 256. Let's see what happens. It's way below us, so I can't see it. Auto scale false. I don't want it to scrunch everything. 0 in displacement, not in data box. Label. I take that AMA opening range V42 and get rid of it. Same as input. No price markers. Show current open, pre-session range, and prior days. Say true. It really doesn't really plot. And then I left these. I did not leave these the same. I actually made the opening range midline transparent because there was no other way to get rid of the midline. But if I wanted to use it, let's see. You get the open with skyline blue, the pre-session with light steel blue, transparent. Just set these to whichever colors you want to see. Whether you want to see, yeah, I've got royal blue for a very light setting on there. If you wanted to see the midline, the midpoint of the opening session, or the opening range, you would have to choose a color. And more than likely, you would probably choose, what is it? I did sky blue. Okay, hit apply. And what kind of dash style do you want to use? Dash, solid. That's the mid-range of dash. Opening range solid. Pre-session range solid. Dash, dot, off, label offset of 15. I'm not sure where that's used. It may be up at the top. Label position, oh sorry, label position will be on the right if it's not shown. Font size, width, opacity. You don't have any number that you choose. It's kind of an infinite number from 1 to 99 or something like that, but it's really 1 to 10, 1 to 9. 2 seems to work for me, so it puts it in the background. Okay, let me hit close. Let me bring down the opening range, and that's what I've got with the opening range, because I'm trying to make it blend into the background. 1 was too thin, too light, and anything greater than 2 was a little bit too heavy for me. And the reason I don't need auto scale on is I want to be able to control what I see. I want to be able to see right around current price more than anything else. And if I want to see higher than that or lower than that, I can always grab and drag on the scale. Let's go back to indicators. R squeeze. Basically, it's a Bollinger Band squeeze. Squeeze style. You have a number of choices here. There's a PBF, a counter trend, or a BB squeeze. And I went, yeah. No real documentation that I've been able to discern. So I left the default to Bollinger Band squeeze because I like the Bollinger Band squeezes. False, I wanted to calculate on really every tick. 256 look back. Auto scale can be true or false. It really doesn't matter because it's its own pain. Displacement 0. Display in data box. I should probably put no or false. Label. I don't really want anything there. Which panel is in? Do you want price markers and scale justification? Then you get to choose your parameters. What's your average true range standard deviation length? 20 was out of the box. And then your colors. Bollinger Band standard deviations from average, I use 2. And Keltner 1.5, 20. 13 and 4 on the CCI and Gauss filter poles, then 21.3. We played with this the other day at night, and this pretty much worked for us. Don't use the PBFs, so it doesn't really matter. Histogram width could be 5 or, in this case, 7. It makes the bars match what's up here at the top. And leave these colors the same, and the 0 width line, you could have it in there any level that you want. If we made it a 6 so that it's really thick, you can see how the dots get big, 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 big. If I make it 1, I think the dots are too small. I can't see them that well. Maybe it's the old eyes. And the happy medium for me is 2. All right, let's go down to the chandelier stop. ATR multiplier 1.75, ATR period of 20. I found that works best. It's an approximation, and what I attempted to do was make it pretty much match the calculated numbers as best we could. Now, these numbers are going to be based upon the signal line -2 given most of it. Now, if I played around and made this 1.5 and applied it, they get a little tighter, and that might be where you want it. I've right now used 1.75. Maybe I did use 1.5 in the end, but no, I didn't, because it got too close. 1.75, apply. I'm going to have to revisit that in NinjaTrader 8, but I thought it was 175. We may have moved it down to 1.5. You don't want a reverse intra bar. You don't want it flip-flopping like crazy, so it has to basically complete. Use the high and low. Default was false. It wants to calculate as we go along. Auto scale, I put it true because I don't want it to be off. It doesn't probably really no matter. No displacement. This probably ought to be false for the display and data box. I don't want anything labeled. And notice how the stuff across the top is really disappearing rapidly. Scale justification, price markers. Now, you can either put the price markers out there if you want to see them or not, if you want to know what that number is. If you're trying to put a stop directly on those dots, it really helps to have that, but I'm going to say false because I don't really think I have them on most of anything. But my price marker is marking off for the price of where we're at, plus the trailing stop and the swing dots, and don't know what this 74.83 3/4 is. Anyway, show arrows, yes or no. Paint bars, stop line. Now, see, this changes the candles, and it totally messes them up. So on paint bars, the answer is no. So that you have your own color codes there. I don't have any sounds out there. I've got enough distractions as it is. Three damn dogs. Downtrend would be royal blue. Uptrend is orange. So the orange is below us in an uptrend, and the blue is above us when we're coming down. Then you can just discern what you want is the dot widths, dots are solids. I have dot, solid, dot, dot, 3, 2, 1. Now, don't care what these alert trends are because I am not using them. All right, the last one I have here is kind of a redundant thing. It's the swings. And what that is I am drawing my dots, green and orange, above and below where the swing levels are. They are putting their big dots, and mine are little. They're the same color, they're different colors, orange versus green. You can see that. Let me get a crayon. Oh boy, that's not a good color. Let's draw this one. Right under there. That right there, their green dots are here, here, and here. My orange dots start and they continue over to the right until we get a flip. Get another one. Then we get a new set until we get another one. It starts up here. Does it? Yeah. All right. Well, it hasn't drawn yet. Okay. All right. Auto scale. True or false doesn't really matter. Calculate on bar close. You could say true. You could say false. I would say that your swings, true is fine. Doesn't need to calculate every time in and out. Auto scale, okay. Displacement, okay. Data box, false. Swing, let's hit this. And we're down to only the ticks left. I didn't get that off. So, and then you pick out your colors, your dots, and how big they are. I use 2. I could use a larger number of dots, but then it starts to get busy. And I choose green and orange. Let's look at ticks left, auto scale, label. Okay, with all the labels turned off, hit OK, and that's what we see. We have any questions so far on the configuration of this puppy? Leave that for a second. I can take a wet my whistle here. Now, when I go back over to Ninja Trader 8, I have a clone. Let's see if I have one here. Template, load. Let's try this. Cancel. What I want to do is save that before I go over. Save as. And then I did one for Mark the other day. Templates. Load. And this was what I started doing, and the dots are wacko. But what this is showing, though, is you don't see... Oh, let's try this again. Template, load. All right, this is cleaner. You can now see that I have the 50 moving average. Let me go to the indicators again. They have a 50. I'm going to go ahead and remove that because they had the 50 and 200. I find it only gets in my way. It tries to screw me up. There's a way that they try to use it, just doesn't work for me. I could use the R squeeze. What I had originally done was trying to use the stochastics RSI. That didn't work. And what I want to do is R squeeze. Apply. Okay, and there you get your R squeeze. And this is on a 377 tick. But I could now take it over here to a Unirinco. And let's do a 6, 10, 2, apply. Okay. And you can see it basically is the exact same thing we had before. It does not have the trailing stops. But the moving averages are there. One thing it's missing is the color coding of the difference in between. I have not been able to find that anywhere. I did find something that might be a substitute for it, but I'm going to have to test it first. Get the fuck out of here. Lilo, out! Come on, out! Out! Come on, out! Out, 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 out! All right. Any questions on the configuration for NinjaTrader 7? While we got this going, I thought I'll go over the chart setups in just a second. Let me hit the